Hi, good morning, Deepa. How are you today?
Good morning, Peter. I'm great, thank you.
Jolly good. Well, Deepa, thank you very much for taking the time to come onto the business spotlight. Could you tell me to start off with a little about yourself, your story, and your business journey, please?
Sure. So I have lived in Northern Ireland since 1996, and I have had several careers. The first 11 years was spent working in equality in Northern Ireland. I researched and authored the first report into racism in Northern Ireland. And then went on to work with Belfast City Council, Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minorities, and the Equality Commission within the Communications Directorate. In 2007, I secured my first non-executive post and became an artist as well, self-taught at home for the next 11 years. Our children were young, so in terms of work-life balance, it worked really well. And then in 2016, I started my company Neon, which works in virtual and augmented reality.
That's certainly come to the forefront now about AI, etc. So I'm sure there's going to be linkages between the two. But tell me, if you think back to when you started Neon, what was the spark that led you to launch the business?
So a really personal story. My father had passed away on the 1st of January in 2016. We were then on a family holiday to Iceland in November 2016. And obviously, I'd been dealing with the grief through the year. And we went to see the virtual reality interactive installation that Björk, the singer, had in the Harper in Reykjavik. It was her album Volnicura, and there were a series of about 7 or 8 different experiences, but I just found them transformative. The last one in particular, where I was dancing with an animated avatar of Björk, and there was something about the combination of the animation, the music, the dance, and being in VR that really lifted my grief. And I came out of that. And, you have sort of transformative, immersive experiences that aren't to do with virtual reality. But for me, at that moment in time, it was that particular experience in VR. So when we came back to Belfast, I started to reach out and find out a bit more about who was working in this space. I got a hold of somebody at Queen's. They signposted me to Kainos, which led to a coffee with their head of innovation. And by March of the following year, well, sort of the coffee resulted in me setting up my company, Neon, applying to an ice cream because I had been pulling together a lot of creative ideas. And then by March of 2017, Kainos and I were at South by Southwest with my first VR experience called Retina.
And so tell me, describe the type of person or business that would most benefit from working with Neon.
So I work on a project by project basis, and after launching Retina, I got really interested in the therapeutic value, the health and well-being value of virtual reality, and got accepted onto Ignite, the business accelerator. But it was one of those instances. I was probably about 5 years too early in terms of that focus, and ended up, and the NHS can be quite challenging in terms of its commissioning and business cycle. So I pivoted slightly and then started to focus my work and projects around R&D, really that combined creativity, but also pushed the barriers and the scope of what virtual and augmented reality could deliver each time. So there's been a wide variety of applications. And my value basis, I suppose, in answering your question, is that learning and development is very much to show people who work in this space, whether they're creatives, whether they're technical experts, you know, whatever your background, just the potential that these technologies are offering, but also to bring these technologies to lay audiences. So a lot of the apps that I've produced are available freely for people across Northern Ireland.
And what do you consider to be the most significant lesson that you've learned since becoming a business owner?
It's hard work, and you don't ever really switch off, but it's really rewarding. And I get to pick and choose who I work with, and I work with incredibly talented people. And because it's on a project by project basis, I'm working with different teams of people each time. So I'm the director, the producer, you know, the person that's pulled the funding application together more often than not. So I really value and treasure and look forward to each working day. And in the past, I did have one job where it didn't challenge me enough, and there was and that was really, really frustrating. So I know I'll never be in that position again. And the business has developed organically. So I'm now also exec producer in terms of virtual production with Aura Studios, who are an amazingly talented group of people that I've worked with really closely over the past few years. I'm visiting professor in immersive futures with Ulster University. My own artistic creative practice is still ongoing as well. So I'm really grateful for everything that I have and the people that I've met.
And what is it at the minute that really motivates you and drives your passion for your business?
So it's storytelling, but it's storytelling in terms of utilizing new tools in the toolbox. So the new technologies of virtual and augmented reality. So one of the pieces, there's several, but one that's perhaps had the most profound impact is a piece called Discover ME. I worked with Joan McParland, who runs Hope for Me and Fibro NI. And that piece it's a 6.5-minute piece of animated virtual reality, which shares the stories and experiences of real life people in terms of their experiences of living with ME and their interaction with health professionals. Now, 6 people were featured in that, Joan being one of them. But there was also a nurse, a teacher, and a doctor. And ME can be really, really challenging in terms of the symptoms, intervention, and for many, many years, people were told to exercise their way out of it, which can be so damaging. But as a result of the animation that we made together, and as a result of the educational pack that accompanies it, both medical education universities in Northern Ireland, Ulster University and Queen's, have now incorporated this into their curriculum. So that means that a whole roster of, you know, next generation doctors are going to be learning firsthand from patients about what it is to live with ME. And now with so many people experiencing long COVID, it's become even more important because people that live with these illnesses often become hidden in society. And it's almost the missing millions is a phrase that's been used. So I'm really, really pleased for Joan and everybody that lives with ME in terms of the impact that this will have for them. And
Deepa, if you could go back in time and give some advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that advice sound like? And would you listen to it?
I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? Because if I hadn't done everything that I had done since I was 18, I wouldn't be at this point, and I wouldn't change anything that's happened over the last few years, because, you know, when things don't go well, that's when we have opportunities for learning the most. And if things are easy, then that becomes boring. What would I say? I would say enjoy life a little more and worry less, probably. I'm probably the most fulfilled and happiest that I have been at any point in my career and life. So I would say give yourself a break and celebrate, the good things more, because I think we have to learn that almost. The self-critical voice that we have in our heads, just even being aware of that and acknowledging it and turning that around and being constructive, because the situation around us doesn't change. What we can control is our attitude and the way we approach it. And that would have been really valuable to have known that, I think, when I was 18.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I was having a conversation recently with someone where it was almost where wins were tolerated rather than celebrated, which I think ties in nicely with what you've said. Great example. And tell me, what if you look ahead, we're now virtually halfway point of 2023. If you look ahead for the rest of this year and indeed into the future, tell me how does Neon grow? What does it look like in the end of this year and 5 years time, say?
Okay, so I'm not a traditional business, in terms of a lot of other businesses will measure success in terms of sales, growth, customers. My ambitions are slightly different because I have different income streams. My non-exec career is equally important to me. So for me, success is being involved in equally meaningful projects as Discover ME. I've just delivered with Aura Studios my first augmented reality exhibition called The Metaverse of Me, which is available on the App Store as well. And that was 18 months of really, really hard work. And that was bringing augmented reality to new audiences again in Northern Ireland. So connecting globally, growing those networks at a European and global level, getting to work, with networks, I suppose, outside of Northern Ireland as well. Looking to create work that really perhaps, it pushes the boundary in terms of what the tech is enabling us to do. I have 2 projects that I'm working on at the moment, but I can't say too much about them because we're in the early stages of bringing in partners. But I think one of the exciting and challenging things of this space is what tech is enabling is changing constantly, and we have AI, which is suddenly in everybody's vocabulary now through Chat GPT. But very few of us actually understand the full implications in terms of what it potentially could do for society and for people in both a positive and negative way. And talking about what digital citizenship means is really important to me. Talking about our curriculum, I think, is really outdated in aspects. We're not actually preparing young people for the society that we live in, and looking at what are the skills that are really going to carry people through life, whether it's creativity, whether it's analytical thinking. What is it that human beings excel at that AI perhaps doesn't? And then it will grow organically as well. So there will be things that I will be doing in 5 years that I couldn't have foreseen right now, and I'm okay with that.
Deepa, that sounds fascinating. If somebody likes what they've heard and would like to reach out and get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Best ways through LinkedIn. Connect with me, send me a message. And one of the things that I have offered in the past and I'm willing to offer here again is equality, diversity and inclusion, and increasing representation at board level is really important to me, because we're getting better at the gender targets, but we're still not on parity in terms of 50-50. Chairs, etc. That's definitely below the threshold at the moment. So anybody that's interested in starting a non-exec career, I've scheduled sort of 10-15 minute calls in the past to hear where people want to get to, and offer and share my own learning in this journey. So LinkedIn's the best, and anybody, LinkedIn has been really useful as a platform in terms of connecting and leading to really interesting connections and friendships.
Fantastic. That's very, very generous of you as well. So Deepa Mann-Kler, CEO of Neon, amongst other things. It's been really cool listening to your story and your journey, both personally and in business. So thank you very much for your time this morning. And I wish you and all your business interests all the success for the remainder of 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.